Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We watch WWE SmackDown every Friday night and recap after the bell. We're doing something a little different today because we're going on live on a Sunday here. My name is John Zindel. This is Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Hey, it is worth the wait this week. It's a Sunday afternoon. I am full of donuts. That's the lead. No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding about being full of donuts, but I'm kidding about that being the lead. So that still leaves us with the question. John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story from the September 22nd episode of WWE SmackDown?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead on this show. And the lead is we had a contract signing between John Cena and AJ Styles and the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. That was the main event, and the Bloodline kind of basically beat the hell out of both of AJ Styles and John Cena and stand strong. Tom, what did you think about this main event contract signing?
Reports were that this main event here was notable for who was not in it. L.A. Knight tested positive for COVID. Friday, when he arrived at the arena, they sent him home. I saw some rumors that he was supposed to be involved in this ending segment because the idea was for AJ Styles to get taken out, and now John Cena needs a partner. If you notice, they did not finish that part of the story. They left this with John Cena signed the contract, and now he doesn't have a partner. They've got, at this point, 2 SmackDowns to get him a partner. The question is, who is it going to be? Now, during this final segment, the crowd was chanting Rocky.
Yeah.
They want it to be The Rock. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you can do The Rock and John Cena versus Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. I mean, it can't be 2 retired guys versus 2 current guys. You have to have at least 1 current guy in there on the Cena side, and that almost spoils The Rock versus someone else down the line. So, great chant by the crowd showing that they're, keeping up on things. But the biggest thing coming out of this main event is that it leaves us with a question. However they arrived at this point, they're 2 weeks away. They're less than, at this point, 2 weeks from Fastlane on October 7th. This contract signing was not completed. What do you think about, first of all, having a contract signing as your closing segment, and then how this particular one played out?
It's a pretty good call out by you that they did the Rocky chant, because now that I'm thinking about it, it shows that the crowd wants The Rock. So, he came out to a massive ovation when he showed up, and it's not just a one-show thing. They want to see him, so they're not sick of him. No, they really want to see him. So, I mean, that's a good thing for WWE to have in their back pocket.
They do have to go in that direction. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think that's ideal, but I mean, it would probably do a big number, wouldn't it?
Yeah. That's why I'm thinking that the tag match probably isn't going to be at Payback or whatever. Is it the next pay-per-view?
The next one is October 7th. I believe that's Fastlane.
Oh, excuse me.
If I said Payback, excuse me. I believe it's Fastlane for October, which is a new one. Last year it was Crown Jewel in October. This year it's Fastlane.
Wherever the Rock lands, it's got to be at a huge pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. So, ultimately, I have to say, as far as the segment's concerned, I usually like a match or prefer a match.
Sure.
And I think one of the big takeaways is from our previous video, I mentioned that the writer's strike is causing these wrestlers to have to come back, such as John Cena. And John Cena has been all over the program, and he continues to be all over the program, doing a contract signing. So I think he's here for the foreseeable future until the strike kind of, settles down or there's an agreement, and that doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. So Cena's going to be here, and The Rock is somewhere lingering around as well. I thought it was okay. I'm not a huge contract signing guy. I think they've used it so many times, but
Mhm.
it at least gets the storyline. Like, I know what the match is. So simple enough of a concept to understand what the match is, but nothing to write home about.
But not this one because they only gave you 3 of the 4. Now, they also gave you a lot of physicality in this one. There's my word, physicality. Backstage is where most of it happened with Jimmy Uso and then Solo Sikoa taking out AJ Styles in the back. And then eventually taking out John Cena in the ring when they returned from commercial.
Mhm.
You brought up that Cena looks like he's here for at least a little while. I mean, short term, if not medium term. How does he look to you? Because, like you said, he can't just go around hosting things. I mean, he can't just be the second coming of Grayson Waller, can he? He's got to get in the ring and wrestle. How does he look to you when he does things like even this throwdown at the end of SmackDown?
He hasn't really skipped a beat, and his move set isn't that complicated. I mean, he is really doing the 5 moves of doom, but so he could keep doing that for years. He doesn't really seem like he's lost a step, and he's jacked all the time. He's all geared up. So um, I'd say he looks pretty good in there, and it's almost like the same guy, just kind of a little bit of a bald spot that was never there before that's there now. But yeah, I think he's okay.
Okay, well, good because it looks like the WWE is banking on him to be a big deal in the ring as a wrestler occasionally,
Mhm.
not just as a personality to do extracurricular stuff. So good. You probably saw him more than I did during his prime. So if you think he's passable as John Cena, not passable as a mid card, but passable as as they announced him here, the greatest of all time in the conversation, then I think that bodes well for the WWE. I don't mind this. I think they made the best of the situation as they could. If there were rumors that someone who wasn't able to be on the program was also supposed to be involved, and it leads to an interesting show this Friday and maybe the Friday afterwards to see how they wrap this up.
Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty good. It's a good use of a talent that hasn't been there forever. Like,
Mhm.
he hasn't been there in a while, so he's kind of can be fresh, and he won't be too overexposed, and they can run that classic into going into the next pay-per-view. Maybe the strike goes away, and then he kind of comes back at like WrestleMania or something. But um,
They're easing him into it. Like his first match is going to be a tag team match. He doesn't have to carry the match. And if he's in there with a real current wrestler who they're trying to push, whoever it was, if it was going to be AJ, if it's going to be LA Knight, if he's in there with a guy like that, that guy can take the most of the work. So they're easing Cena in the way you should. I mean, we don't expect him to be bad, but he's not going to be 5-star Cena right away. But I'm up for it. I want to see where it goes. I'll take the ride with them.
yeah, let's give it a shot. All right,
That's
so
the lead, right? Where do you want to go? We got only three matches on this show, but they're all long. What did you where do you want to go next? And maybe I'm jumping the gun saying it's a match. Where do you want to go?
well, um,
It's the
from
follow.
it. So we just talked about the lead. We'll jump into the follow here. That's everything else we've watched or on Friday on SmackDown. I'm gonna go ahead and say my match of the night, Io Sky versus Asuka. I thought that was a pretty good match. Io Sky goes over. There's a lot of shenanigans throughout it with uh, damage control, Flair out at the side of the ring, Charlotte Flair, that is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this is my match of the night. Some pretty good stuff here. Good use of like the gymnastic style, and that's the only way I can really describe it for Io Sky. Is
Mm-hmm.
she uses some of her like gymnastic abilities, but she doesn't ram it down your throat like it's the only thing she can do. But she does like flip backwards, and it's like pretty impressive. So I think she did a good job there. Great drop kick from her as well. And yeah, Io, I think so far has been a pretty strong champion. Dom, what you think of this match?
This match starts at 8:52 on the East Coast. It goes 19 minutes. It covers the overlap of the top of the new hour there. This is one of the most fun matches I've seen on SmackDown in the almost year we've been doing this. This is right up there with like Gunther versus Ricochet. I
Yeah.
mean, this was such a fun match to watch. I mean, right from the beginning, I write wrist locks, reversals, headlocks. Yes. ... Crowd dead. So the crowd took a while to get into it, but not me. I was into it right away. Wrist locks, reversals, headlocks, headlock takeovers into head scissors. Yeah.
Yeah.
These two can wrestle. Io Sky needed this because so far she's been a weak champion since cashing in the Money in the Bank. And she gets this really big win with Asuka, who she's known for 15 years, back to when they tagged together in a faction in Japan. And you know, I like seeing things like this because I just wonder from a just an empathy standpoint, this has got to be a thrill for Asuka, right? To know that, you know, her longtime friend is finally getting a shot here, and it's Asuka who goes out there and works like crazy, like pay-per-view match length, and helps her friend get over. You mentioned the shenanigans. They did a great job of teasing that, but not actually having it happen. The shenanigans don't happen until the last 90 seconds of this 19-minute match. Both competitors, they've been going at it for about 17 minutes. Both competitors struggle to get to their knees. It's a slugfest. Quickly into Asuka with a series of submission attempts. And then Io eventually escaping everything. Now, in the final attempt, Bayley puts Io Sky's foot on the rope. That's the interference that they were teasing all match. Right?
Yeah.
It was there's Bayley and Dakota Kai. Oh, are they going to get involved? Oh, are they going to get involved? They finally get involved, putting Io's foot on the rope, helping her get to a point where the referee breaks Asuka's final submission hold. That gets Charlotte running over from the announce desk to deck Bayley. And while Asuka is leaning on the ropes, furious at Bayley for getting involved, she's distracted. Io Sky hits that double knees to the back of the head, lays her out, hits that beautiful top turn moonsault that she does as well or better than anybody, man or woman, on the roster, and gets the pinfall. Io Sky needed this, and her longtime friend, who is as legit as anybody else to put somebody else over, does it in a pay-per-view quality match, as far as I could tell. This was so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
What say you, my friend? I'm gushing over it. What say you?
We both agree then. I said, well, this is the match of the night for sure. When, like, probably about halfway through, I was like, I agree with your assessment where it felt like a pay-per-view match. And, you know, sometimes you get a SmackDown and you're getting like a bunch of squashes, or you're not getting the best stuff on the planet. But yeah, they tore it up. And one thing I've kind of noticed is, you know, and I don't see this as much in AEW, but the women's matches right now are probably better than the men's. Like, you know, you could always make a case that the women right now they have a lot more going on than the men's side. You know, the men's is
The
kind
top
of
of the card in SmackDown, yeah, you can make that argument. We've been kind of making that argument for a while. We saw Asuka, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Io Sky, all in the mix, right?
and they do a good job of mixing in a veteran like Asuka and somebody that's up and coming like Io Sky, and they have a great match, you know? So they're doing that blend where they're having the veterans on the roster kind of carry maybe or fill in some gaps for the young people like Io. You don't really know who she is. And
Mhm.
as she becomes more and more polished, let's just say, as a champion, you know, you'll have another star there. So they're doing a good job, like kind of grooming the young you know, wrestlers in that division.
The
So
wrestlers who may be not as well known to the U.S. audience, the WWE audience, like Io Sky. Yeah, Bailey's been doing that for Io for the better part of a year now.
yeah,
Her entire run up to becoming champion. And you just mentioned the top of the card in the women's division and how stacked it is. They've already announced that this coming SmackDown, the fallout from this match, Charlotte Flair versus Bailey. This is one of the two four horsewomen from the NXT days a decade ago who are going to wrestle on upcoming SmackDown. There's no belt involved, but you're still looking forward to Charlotte Flair versus Bailey, right? Bailey looks like she's fully recovered from her knee injury over the summer. We're looking forward to that match, right? I am.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely one looking forward to. All right, so that's Io and Asuka.
I
Dom,
didn't want to gloss over the moves in this match. Were there anything that you really wanted to mention? I mean, at this point, I don't want to go through all my notes because I wound up taking notes like this was a pay-per-view match.
yeah,
Like there are so many sequences I wrote down. Now, you mentioned Io's missile drop kicks are beautiful. Her aerial tactics, whether it's that Japanese high flying style or the luchador style, she's so good at it. And Asuka being the quick submission wrestler and striker, and Io, did you think their styles, which were different, did you think they meshed well?
yeah, for sure. They're
I thought it was a great. I thought it was a great. Like Io wrestled her match, Asuka wrestled her match, but it worked, right?
exactly, and I think they gave them a lot of time to go, and they proved why they should have like 20 minutes on SmackDown. Like, give me a 20
Sure.
minute match on SmackDown because I wanted to hang in there, for it. I also noticed that when they went to the outside, they didn't do a dive. I was like,
Yo,
no, there's
yes,
no dive when they went to the outside. There was just a move to the outside. So I
yes,
didn't get I feel like I've watched so many SmackDown matches, and you see somebody go to the outside, they do the dive commercial. And it's like you can't just do that every night, you know.
yep.
But
Yeah. They did the first time they went to commercial was Io missing a Oscar roll to the outside after Io catching with an arm drag. So Io tries for a moonsault. Oscar moves out of the way, and then as Io lands on her feet, Oscar beautiful super kick. And like you're saying, that's how they go to commercial, not somebody just hitting a dive. Even the second commercial, um, they allowed them go to the top turn moonsault, but it was after they were already on the outside and Asuka, tried to kick Io against the ring post and Io ducks and Asuka hits her shin against the ring post. So yeah, they're not doing the lazy way, but yeah, you've still got to go to commercial. But it wasn't the lazy. Nothing about this match was lazy and cliche, right? And isn't that what you're looking for? Because a 19-minute match can drag, can't it?
yeah, for sure.
Did this one drag? Did it feel like it was dragging? Did it feel like, wow, this match went a good amount of time? It fit.
No, it's a good match. All
Good.
right, so that
Where
was
else? Two other matches and some segments. What do you like?
Io Sky and Asuka. Um, we can go to the next match in the 9 o'clock hour. Do you want to do that? So we have Austin Theory and Grayson Waller versus Butch and Rich Holland.
Yep. From the Brawling Brutes, about 11-minute match here. This wound up being the last match of the night. It ends a little after 9:30 for us here, leading up to the Fastlane contract signing. Yeah, pretty decent match. It looks like the Austin Theory Grayson Waller pairing has some legs. Are you pleased with that?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention here, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller go over. So they win this one, which adds, gives them a little momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a weird one, if I'm going to be honest with you. And it's only weird because it just feels like somebody that's kind of floundered a little bit with Austin Theory in the last couple of months. I know they think highly of Austin Theory, and apparently they think really highly of Grayson Waller because he's been all over SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Is this
maybe
a case of one guy on his way down and one guy on his way up, and they kind of meet here, and maybe it stabilizes each of them and gives them a chance?
I mean, hopefully, maybe you can have Grayson Waller be the mouthpiece for Austin Theory. That seems like maybe the direction they're headed in. And, Austin, he is a hell of a worker, and there's some pretty good spots he has
Yep.
during this match. We'll
Go
have
through
to
some of
see.
your favorite. I wrote down maybe a couple here, but what did you like here from them?
Well, I mean, we're talking about Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, but I think specifically, I am more impressed with Butch and Ridge Holland. I like that tag team a lot more. Um, Specifically, there were some pretty cool spots. Anytime the finger manipulation that does all that stuff, like where
Yep.
he's yanking all their fingers all over the place, it's so crazy. I can watch a match and they'll throw somebody through a table, and I'm like, boring. But then I watch him like pull somebody's finger back, and I'm like, oh my god, that looks horrible. Like a car crash. Ugh. And it's like there's some stuff that just looks kind of fake, and kind of what like you kind of are familiar with it being safe and not that dangerous, but then I see the finger stuff and I'm like, oh, that looks horrible.
Sure.
It really hurts when getting your fingers stepped on, or if you close your finger in a door, it's like the worst feeling.
Yep.
So
Yep.
uh the finger stuff is so simple and really effective. And then Rich Holland had a really cool baby face move. I think he had the front headlock, and kind of did like a spin with. He spun the opponent while they were in the front headlock and spun him and
Yes.
spun him. So I think that's got a lot of potential to get over with the fans as a baby face.
Hmm.
I don't know if he can do it. I don't know if people are going to be able to take it as well. I think Austin Theory is the one that took it. I'm not sure, but
I do remember it. It's a move where the guy taking the move has to be pretty fresh because he's kind of bracing himself on Ridge's forearm, kind of holding himself up. I mean, it's a variation on the old airplane spin,
yes, that's what it
but
is.
instead of holding the guy's feet, you're holding the guy's neck. There's more potential for problem, using the head and neck area.
Yeah, and then the last thing I really wanted to talk about is just Butch. He just makes the most of his time. He doesn't get a lot of time on TV sometimes. You'll see him. He'll miss a SmackDown. He's kind of in the shuffle of a tag team, but I think Butch he's really good. And yeah, so you kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this pairing.
They had been joking that they're undefeated as a tag team because they're 1-0.
Mm,
Well, now they're 2-0. Now the greatest tag team in WWE history, they've got twice as many wins. Uh, I think they make a good tag team. They're about the same size wrestler. Um, their move set is similar and compatible. They each do those rolling strikes through the ropes where they're on the apron and they hurl themselves back into the ring and then roll into something. In fact, that's the finish of this match. Is Ridge has a Boston Crab on Austin Theory, while Butch has a sleeper on Grayson Waller on the outside. But Waller backs Butch into the ring post to break the hold. Then Waller springs himself through the top and middle rope into that rolling stunner on Ridge. And that allows Austin Theory, who's the legal competitor, to hit A-Town down for the pinfall. So a good teamwork there between Waller and Theory. They seem to have good chemistry. Um, they're probably above average on the mic. They could be above average in the ring. I think they mesh well. I see some potential here, and if Austin Theory was, sliding down the ladder in WWE, this is a good net for him to land into here. I mean, there are worse things you can do than be with a guy who they're trying to push on the way upward, a fellow young guy in Grayson Waller. I think they have some potential. I find them entertaining as long as, they don't have to carry spots on the mic.
yeah,
When they were involved in that back and forth with LA Knight a couple of SmackDowns ago, that worked because LA Knight was there.
right,
I
exactly.
think if Austin Theory and Grayson Waller had to carry a segment, we'd be going, all right, guys, let's wrap it up. Let's go.
Yes. No, this is good use of them, and they need tag teams, and you throw them together, and then they can wrestle. individually, and then you can see if the two of them have legs as a tag team. And if they do have legs as a tag team, that's a good thing because they both need to find they need to find their groove. Grayson
Yep.
Waller for sure, and Austin Theory kind of floundering here, right? So, okay, cool.
Speaking of tag teams, we got a little vignette with Alba Fire and Isla Dawn trying to take credit for putting a curse on the women's tag team division, which is a nice use of them playing into the fact that people keep getting hurt legitimately. What do you think about this opportunity maybe to push these NXT call-ups who just debuted in late April after the draft, May, sometime this spring? Do you think there's some potential there for Alba Fire and Isla Dawn to jump into the women's side of the tag team here?
Well, they need to probably. They kind of randomly got pushed up and then wrestled and then have been off TV. So
Right.
I don't know. I know that the women's they just can't keep people healthy enough to establish the belts. That's what it boils down to. Like there's always an injury with one of the tag teams, and you could tell like plans have to constantly change. It's very confusing at this point.
Yep. So I mean, however it is you get your opportunity, this could be it for them. Interesting. I mean, the curse thing was all right. So this is the carrying cross of the women's tag division. We're putting crosses and hexes and things onto people, and it was all was missing was a tarot card.
Yeah, I know.
On the men's tag team side, we get a comedy vignette about Elton Prince's recovery from his separated shoulder. What do you think of these guys?
I actually usually cringe at the comedy vignettes, but this one was actually kind of funny. I
It was
actually
all right.
it wasn't like hilarious, it wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. It was like,
No.
all right, I get it. He's exaggerating his injury. So, and I think for as bizarre as their gimmick is, which I don't really even totally understand it, like, but they both can work. Like they, especially the blonde guy. Is it Eldon? Yeah.
That's yes, that's Elton Prince who suffered what was apparently a very real shoulder injury in a match with the Brawling Brutes.
Yeah. So I'm actually kind of okay with this team, and I actually sort of liked. I should say, yeah, I sort of liked it. Like I was like, okay, I get what they're going for. It was a good thought, and usually some of the comedy stuff is like, oh my god, Vince, please don't run this again.
I'm gonna give this one a yes, boy. I like this segment. They're playing up their characters. They're metrosexuals who lie and try to gain sympathy in ways that are just not genuine. Like this is what they do. Like when they won the gauntlet match to get a tag team title shot at Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. It was like, oh, we defeated 5 other teams. No, you were the last ones in. You wrestled for a minute and a half.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, we defeated 5 other teams in a gauntlet. And now they're just playing up the whole injury thing. Oh, he's so badly hurt. Like his arm is fine. Why are you in a wheelchair?
No, they've done. Yeah, they're doing pretty good. I have to say,
and like you said, they can work. So it's not like they're only there for comedy. And you're like, all right, this isn't going anywhere. We know these guys can't have a match. We know these guys can have a match. So okay, I'll laugh along with you guys at the ridiculousness because I know you're going to get in the ring and it's not going to suck probably.
For some of the call ups, Grayson Waller, I'm like, is this a good fit with Grayson Waller being put up? Like, I'm a little, he's a little, I don't know. But then these two feel like, okay, I get why they're up, and I get why they're in the WWE in the position, they're positioning them where they're at. Like, they're a pretty solid comedy, wrestling tag team, and they both can work. So
All right, and that kind of takes us to another tag team, um, perhaps angle here, which takes us to our only match we haven't talked about yet, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
the opening match of the night: Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar versus Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. The repackaged Street Profits coming out with Bobby Lashley. Another 11-minute match here. So we only had 3 matches on this program, but the total was over 40 minutes of wrestling.
Mm.
That's a pretty good amount of wrestling on a 2-hour program that we got here. So I don't feel cheated with 3 matches because we got 3 long matches, one which was pay-per-view length. And this match, quality of this match, Rey and Santos wound up winning this one, which leads to, I'm sure we'll get to the furious Bobby Lashley afterwards. What did you think of this match?
You know, pretty good. I don't really have too many notes on it. I kind of would like to hear what you would have to say about it.
I like that both each of these tag teams have tension. There's the Rey Santos tension because they're supposed to face each other for the U.S. title. And there's the Street Profits tension because they've got a new attitude and a new outlook on thing, and they're trying to come into their own as more serious wrestlers. So there's a little tension with each team. I'm kind of surprised that Rey and Santos win this match. I thought this was going to be, cementing the ascension of the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. Instead, Bobby Lashley, out of the view of referee, choke slams Rey Mysterio on the ring apron, rolls Rey into the ring, and tells Dawkins, pin him now. But Angelo Dawkins hesitates and then goes for a power bomb. Rey winds up sliding out of the power bomb and rolling up Dawkins by catching both of his legs once he's got him on the ring there. It's just enough for a pinfall. And Bobby Lashley is just furious. They wound up going to the locker room after they come back from commercial and do another vignette. And it's Bobby Lashley just laying into the Street Profits, saying, return the suits, return all the fancy clothes, and just get out to catering. Are they splitting up this faction already?
Well, I guess maybe we'll try to get them going on like the route where they're going to be a heel team, because right now they're confusing. I don't know if they're a face or a heel team. Like usually people in suits, I would say heel, but then they're coming out and they're like doing the frat boy red cup thing, which is a big time face move. So yeah, maybe this is like their heel turn, and they do need to find a way to get them to turn heel. And it's like, okay, maybe we'll just have Bobby Lashley turn them evil.
That's a great point, because they were very recently just really down the middle of the road baby faces.
I really want them to turn heel and just do it. And give it, because they've been running as faces for a while. Give them a shot to turn heel. They have a different look. Let them wrestle different. Let them be heel, and we have enough. I should say yes. It would be cool to see a big badass group like this be heels.
Okay, and you mentioned wrestle different. What would you like to see them do if they were more of a real heel team?
I mean, there's
maybe what would they have to cut back on other than dancing around with the cups?
Yeah, the red cup thing has to go. Even the whole entrance. It's like they made some of the changes that need to be made, but they're not 100% there. It's like very gradual. They didn't just turn.
They got half of a makeover. They're coming out of the salon, and you're like, what happened here? They didn't finish. Go back inside there. You still got curlers in your hair, and half the makeup's not done. So they got half a makeover. You want them to go all the way.
Go for it. And there's no better person to prove that they're heels than using Rey Mysterio, because Rey Mysterio is Mr. Babyface.
Yep.
And again, the hardest working retired man in pro wrestling.
Yes.
He gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, then beats his son, then wins the U.S. title, and now is going over as a tag team. This guy's on fire, Rey Mysterio.
He's on fire. Now, you mentioned heel turns. What are you looking for in the Rey versus Santos Escobar match?
Hey,
They keep building to this. I mean, is this really going to be two baby faces go in there, shake hands, have a match, hug at the end?
probably. I think they have enough going with the LWO at this point. I would like to see them start to. I mean, I don't know. If I'm fantasy booking, I wouldn't break them up, but maybe they could break them up to make a story. I don't know. I would keep it going. They're
Do
probably
you
selling.
think this
They're
matchup
probably
gets
selling
in the
merch
way?
like crazy with the LWO shirts. Like they don't want to break it up. They have some continuity. They have a bunch of little factions. That's the direction they're going. Just keep them at where they're at.
Does this one-on-one feud get in the way?
I don't know. Do you think so?
If they want them to stay together long term, it's going to be a tough sell. I'll let creative and the agents have their shot at it, but it's not an obvious path of least resistance here to get this done.
Yeah.
I don't think.
All right, Doc.
I think that's our show. Did we miss anything here?
No, I think we got everything we wanted here. So you know what that means.
Oh,
You know what time it is.
is it drive time? Is it time for the thumb drive? We have to distill everything we saw on SmackDown into a simple thumb up or thumb down. Is that what we're going for here?
That's it. It's the segment. Our third segment of the show is Thumb Drive, Drive Time. So, thumbs up or thumbs down? Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Yes, boy!
Oh,
I like this show.
yeah, me too. What did you like about the show?
Great wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I
Io
can't be mad at a show that gave me great wrestling.
Io Sky and Asuka alone would be like, yep, that match is really good. Probably too good to be on TV and giving it away for free, but I'll take it. And yeah, I kind of think that, you know, they're pretty hot right now, SmackDown, WWE. Like it feels like they got something going here, and they're kind of doing like long-term booking pretty well, and then short-term they're doing pretty well. And these SmackDowns have been solid wrestling shows.
And it's been with no Roman Reigns.
No. Yeah, well,
They've managed to do this the last month or so without Roman Reigns on the program, and it's been fun. I mean, he's always there as long as Paul Heyman is around, but they've done this while Roman Reigns takes a vacation and maybe a much needed refresher for his health.
Yeah, refresher for his health, and he's been their champ for over 1,000 days. So you gotta give that stuff a break sometimes. If he's gonna be out there all that time.
Just for the numbers, since we did the MJF math last time, let's do a little math here. As we get to Fastlane on October 7th, that will be 1,133 days in the title reign for Roman Reigns. So he is well past 1,000. If he makes it to the end of the year, he's looking at in the 1,300 range, getting close to that. I mean, Royal Rumble will be close to 1,300 or so. Yeah, long reign, and they're in a sweet spot now where they've been putting on good programming, getting a pretty decent reaction without Roman Reigns being there, and it's kind of setting you up for, oh, I'm gonna like it when Roman finally shows up again, right?
Yeah, that's how you keep him fresh. Is keep him away. I mean, when he comes back, you're gonna be like, oh hell yeah, Roman's back. I forgot he was the champ. You almost
right.
It's funny that they're always referencing that they're calling him on the phone, but he's not there.
Yes. Call Roman Reigns. Call Roman Reigns.
Now, does Paul Heyman ever get any days off or what? Because he's always there.
Oh, he's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, Dom, that is the SmackDown show. Let's go to our next segment here. Folks, what we do here is cheap heat. So we talk a lot about SmackDown, we do the recap, and then we roll into cheap heat, just talking about trending topics in the pro wrestling world, things we find interesting, etc., to get cheap views, because we're all about cheap views. So we're going to cheap heat now. So let's go ahead. I'll make Dom
To
the.
just to clarify there, we're going for the cheap heat, but hey, some of the reactions to our stuff has been genuine. We really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet on YouTube, please go ahead. Whatever platform you're finding us on, thank you for following and watching. Yes, subscribe to us on Twitch or on Facebook, wherever you're finding us. Most of our stuff, including the great edited video clips that John that you make after these long live streams and long full programs that we do, are of course all the stuff is on YouTube there. So find us there, up over 250 subscribers, well over 100,000 total views so far. Yes, please. We've got some people in our community now that's forming. We've got people leaving comments and kind of getting into some banter with each other, which we like to see. It's becoming a fun place for people to know that they're getting good content. So thank you for the response that we've gotten so far, and we hope to keep it going. And how about here, our first cheap heat of the day? The Shield. You remember the Shield, John? I really don't, but the Shield was what, 10 years ago in the WWE? It was Roman Reigns, it was Seth Rollins, and it was Dean Ambrose, who is now John Moxley. Well, according to Pro Wrestling Illustrated, all these years later, these are the three best wrestlers in the world. The annual PWI 500, where they rank the 500 best wrestlers from all over the world over that past year. They've got Seth Rollins as the best wrestler in the world, Roman Reigns as number 2, and John Moxley of AEW as number 3. What say you about this, since you have a long-standing viewership with each of these three wrestlers, far longer than I do?
Hilarious quote. We're leaders of an industry, which is not something they could have said recently because they have not been together for years, but they just throw it in there. Also, 16 extra pages is the selling point for this magazine. I don't know why you'd be like, oh, gotta get the 16 extra pages. But from as far as PWI and the top 500 is concerned, I guess this is just a list that they create based off of wins and losses. So it's kind of like in character who is the best. Kind of surprised not to see MJF on the list, but it may be because he hasn't wrestled a lot, or I should say in the top 3. But then in addition to that, it's odd to see Rollins as number 1 when Roman Reigns hasn't lost. But then I'm thinking about it, and maybe is that because he got pinned in that tag team match? Is that what's going on? I don't know.
I think it's wins and losses. I think they're just talking about, who has performed the best as a character, as a worker. It's almost like MVP voting. There's no exact formula for it to decide what most valuable means. So I used to get the PWI 500. I would pick it up on the newsstands, like 20 years ago or so. Just when I saw that it was on the newsstands, late fall, and it was a fun read through. Your point about if you're going to pick somebody from AEW and throw them in here in the top, yeah, hasn't MJF been a better performer than Moxley over the past year or so?
He's been the champ too, so I can only imagine because Moxley was in Japan doing something. I don't know.
Moxley has wrestled more. I guess he has. You're saying he's been in more matches than
Yeah,
MJF?
he's been in a lot more matches. MJF doesn't wrestle too often.
You're an
He
AEW fan. You have your choice of seeing a segment with John Moxley or with MJF. Who you want?
wow. Um, I like them both a lot, actually.
Okay. So this is not as much of an upset as maybe it seems, as John Moxley is the highest rated AEW performer.
Yeah, I think Moxley's improved a lot
Okay.
since he's been Dean Ambrose and went to AEW. I think he went to another level.
Okay.
Um, I'm not as I mean I don't think I think he'd probably swap Rollins out and put Reigns at one. Um, but
Okay.
I
On
don't
the
like.
strength of the character, because it's been such an unbelievably strong storyline in the WWE, right? The whole bloodline thing with Roman on top.
Yeah, and it's also we don't watch Seth Rollins that much because he's
No,
not
we
on
don't.
SmackDown. He's on Raw, so he's a big mystery to me. But yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, listen, this is going to be like go back to my Dave Meltzer point. Like this is just someone's opinion, man. Like who cares?
Well, let's
But
get to more opinions then. John Moxley. Should AEW ban pile drivers? This comes to us from Cinema Blend. Wrestling fans are arguing after a John Moxley injury. Did you see this segment when it happened on AEW where it looks like Moxley got hurt and now they're saying that he was not supposed to lose that match and therefore lose his international title, but like they had to call an audible because he was really seriously hurt. Did you see this and what did you think seeing it?
I didn't realize that he was injured and then they went through with the pin. But that's the right call if someone's really injured. It probably adds some dynamic to the storyline and kind of crazy that Ray Phoenix now wins the title because Moxley got hurt.
Yeah,
Um, as
there it
far
is.
as
Ray
banning,
Phoenix stunned attendees and people in the back who wrote the match and laid it out by winning, by defeating John Moxley.
no, I watched a replay and it looks like he goes 1, 2, 3, and the ref gets confused. Then they just go forward and like pile drives him again. just but yeah, so
The ref took some heat for this.
this is according to who? Cinemablend.com.
This is at cinemablend.com. They've got one fan apparently tweeted, I hate to keep throwing fuel on the fire, bashing Rick Knox, the referee, for being not a very good referee after jeopardizing wrestler safety. Apparently, this has happened before where a wrestler gets legitimately hurt in the ring and this ref has no idea. Like if Moxley gets legitimately hurt, you count that 3 as quickly as possible, raise Ray Phoenix's hand, and let creative sort it out afterwards, right?
Yes.
You don't miss counting the 3 and then have Phoenix have to do the freaking move again. Apparently, Moxley took 2 of these.
Well, ultimately, I think they're supposed to count through the 3 count. If he doesn't kick out, then you just count the 3. But that's sort of an old rule, and this ref is like a lot more modern, I'd have to say.
Okay.
Um, maybe yes, he probably should have counted the 3 count, but they went home. It's never easy when someone gets injured. As far as the pile driver being banned, that's really stupid. I think that one bad pile driver shouldn't. You don't just ban pile drivers. I mean, he didn't die. He didn't. He just has a head injury. Undertaker's been doing the tombstone pile driver forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think you ban a move because someone gets hurt.
They mentioned that here the WWE banned pile drivers back in 2000, only granting exceptions to a select few wrestlers over the years to use them sparingly. Probably like a guy like The Undertaker who'd been doing it for years. And he's a safe guy to work with. He knows how to do it. Is a pile driver is because of the fact that you're exposing the guy's head and neck And so, like they say, Moxley may have gotten a concussion here, but you can also get a serious neck injury. I mean, the real danger with pile drivers is serious neck injury. It really changed Steve Austin's career. It may have been a big problem. Was it Darren Drozdov? He got a big neck injury. I don't know if it was on a move like this
That was
or
a
a modified
bomb.
pile driver.
It was a
Power
bomb.
So other moves can be botched that result in injuries. Is it because the pile driver just looks like it's dangerous that maybe they're overreacting to it? Is it just a thing where you've got to just work with your wrestlers and say, look, don't do moves that you don't know how to execute, and like work with each other? It's not like you're on the road 300 days a year. Get in the match before the show and work with each other. Work it out. What are you going to do? How do you take a move if you haven't done it before? If you haven't worked with each other, like work it out, guys. You're professionals.
I've never seen, or I've never taken a pile driver. I've seen them in our indie shows. I've never taken one, and I would just say, ultimately, they just look crazy. I don't think they're that bad at all. So they look so crazy that they look crazy. That they look so crazy that you would think, oh, you shouldn't do it. But ultimately, let them do what they want to do. It's not that dangerous.
Okay, so we're saying that maybe this was a little bit of overkill, especially since despite the injury to John Moxley, the same show continued to use pile drivers the rest of the match. I mean, Saraya and Samoa Joe were involved in pile drivers, and apparently nobody got hurt there. So, is this an overreaction, like you were saying, because of just somebody got hurt? It happened to be Moxley.
Yeah, one dude writing on Twitter that AEW should ban pile drivers. Yeah, no, that's calm down. Calm down. There you go. That's why it's much. Chill.
Calm down. There you go.
Chill the F out.
Chill out. There you go. Couldn't say it better myself, right?
Right.
Have you heard of the Unbreakable Bunch? An alien force came to conquer the Earth. They had no idea that this bunch was in town. This is apparently a movie with lots of old wrestlers and some that are still active.
Watch out.
This is basically a pro wrestling spot, isn't it?
Watch out, Wizard of Oz. Watch out, Casablanca. There's a new American classic on the horizon. The Unbreakable Bunch.
It stars old wrestlers, and it's about them being old wrestlers who somehow have to team up to fight an alien invasion. What could possibly go wrong here? I gotta tell you, this is like one step away from being the Dungeon of Doom, a real wrestling angle from WCW in the 90s, right? Right. This is like aliens. Like, okay, so we've done that before. I mean, this is where WCW just barely managed not to go. They had the Yeti, they had RoboCop and the Shockmaster. How did they not go aliens? Well, anyway, we're getting aliens now in a movie. This could be a fun flick to watch. Let's do a little Do You Remember with the wrestlers. Hey, play along with us in the comments. How many of these wrestlers do you remember? If you're watching live, go ahead and comment as you're doing this. And hey, subscribe on YouTube when you see us put out what may be a cheap hit clip out of this. Starring Ray Floyd. Do you remember Ray Floyd?
I do not.
Ray Floyd was Glacier in WCW. He arrived at just the wrong time.
Oh.
They were pushing this guy like crazy, but he arrived just like a year and a half or a year too late as they were getting away from the cartoonish characters and going more into setting up the NWO. But yeah, this is Glacier.
Did he have snow in his entrance or something like that? Or I remember.
Yes, he was a martial arts guy who was kind of like a Mortal Kombat character almost, but in that mold. He was just a little too late for the cartoonish stuff. Ernest Miller, Ernest the Cat Miller. I remember Ernest the Cat Miller. Do you remember Ernest the Cat Miller?
I'm 0 for 2. I don't know who. I only remember this guy. I think he was in the movie The Wrestler.
Okay.
And The Wrestler is an an actually an actual good movie. I would say that
Okay.
I would say not that this won't be a good movie, but The Wrestler was a movie that was
Had
a
movie stars,
highly
right? Mickey Rourke was in that.
it was a highly touted. I would say this. It was a highly rated movie. Like people that were not into wrestling liked the movie.
Yes, big budget, big studio behind it, big stars that are known outside of wrestling. But yeah, Ernest Miller. Well, then he is no rookie for this film here. Ernest the Cat Miller. Do you remember Steve Luther Wilson, who was Luther Biggs briefly in WCW and TNA?
This is wow. I am 0 for. I don't know who this is.
I'm 2 out of 3. I don't remember him either. Apparently, he gets to have a shotgun in this movie. Um, Tanga Uli Fifita. We know him, right?
Yes,
This is Haku or Meng, depending on which promotion you were watching.
Ming, baby. I knew him as Ming in WCW. Didn't he have like the Tongan death grip? Yeah.
Yes, this is a guy who was supposedly a legitimately badass shoot fighter in the back. Like the boys did not mess with Meng or Haku. They did not mess with him. He's still around. Larry Whistler is
Zabisco?
going by his ring name here, Larry Zbyszko. Do you remember Larry Zbyszko?
Yes, for sure. I know Larry Zabisco. I know him from like the WCW stuff. Like
Yep.
I had him in a video game, WCW NWO Revenge. He was one of the characters. So he was in a video game in the mid '90s that I played like crazy.
Okay, people watching, correct my memory if I get this wrong. In the early 80s, they ran a wrestling show that basically sold out Shea Stadium, I think. Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant was on that card. This was pre WWF. Hulk Hogan was on that card. But that was not the main event of that show. The main event of that show that really drew the money was Bruno Sammartino versus Larry Zbyszko. At one time, this guy was huge.
Mhm.
But yes, Larry Zbyszko. Stan the Lariat Hansen, fans of Japanese promotions probably know him more than people who've only watched U.S. promotions. Do you remember any Stan Hansen matches or seeing him on any U.S. promotions? I saw him briefly, I think, in NWA, WCW. Do you remember Stan Hansen?
Yeah, just from his stuff in the '80s, and
Okay.
because he was a huge guy that was just big tough brawler.
Yep.
Yeah, Stan Hansen for sure. And come on, this guy, you got to know him. Diamond Dallas Page.
Not using his actual name, but he's using his ring name, Diamond Dallas Page. We all know Diamond Dallas Page. AEW fans, do you know Anna Jay?
Oh, Anna Jay. I know her, and I think she. Let's think here. I've definitely heard her name, and I am familiar with her from AEW.
Yep, she's in this movie as well. Here's one, David Heath. Do you remember David Heath?
No, I do not know who this is.
Okay, look at it and squint.
Is it
Ed,
Gangrel?
Christian, Gangrel, you got it. The
Uh,
Brood, right? That was the old faction. The Brood, was that it?
yeah, yeah. No, that is Gangrel. Yeah, he's very recognizable now that I'm like looking at him.
There he is, David Heath, Gangrel, a few other people. Nick Logan. Wait, this is okay. This is a former boxing champion, Pinklin Thomas. Apparently, he's a legitimate guy. This may be a real actress, Julia Denton. Nick Logan. He is actually an indie wrestler. He's in this. He's a younger guy. Maybe he's there to take the bumps, as the younger indie guy usually is in these matches with the older wrestlers. Here looks like another real actor. Another real actor. Kahagas, an actual NWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. Maybe a two-time champion, not nearly as well known as Adam Pearce, NWA champion 5 times, but he's there. And One more. Do you remember Ron Reese? I dropped his name into this show. Do you remember Ron Reese?
Oh boy, Ron Reese. I don't know who that is.
Ron Reese was the guy under all that toilet paper as the Yeti.
Oh, right.
He also wrestled as Reese, very creative, and for a while as Big Ron Studd. He was trained by Big John Studd.
He was Big Ron Studd. His
Big
name
Ron
rhymed.
Studd, trained by Big John Studd. He's a tall guy, like 7 feet tall, big old guy. Ron Reese is in here as Big Phil. I imagine he will be paying a very large man in this. So maybe he's being typecast. Who knows? Ron, you're going to come in, you're going to be the big guy.
Was he in the NWO?
He was not in the NWO. He was in I believe, the tail end of the Dungeon of Doom.
Okay.
The Yeti. I don't believe he ever got into the NWO, but hey, there's some fun. You want to talk some business now?
That is
people in the comments. Tell us how many of these people you remember, and if you have any favorites from this list here. This looks like just a fun indie movie that's coming out. I don't know if there's big bucks behind it, but it was a trip down memory lane for some nostalgia. Do you want to talk some WWE business?
Let's do it, Dom. Why don't you start us off here with some of the business?
Lots of sites have been covering the talent being cut by WWE after their merger. There was some behind-the-scenes talent that was cut, like accountants and stuff, now that Endeavor and Titan Sports merged to form TKO Holdings. Your accountants and some of your other office workers, your corporate bureaucracy becomes redundant, so cuts are being made there. On the WWE side, however, they are also cutting some talent. I'm selecting the ProWrestling.net report here because they are actually just setting it up as a list of talent. They give a brief paragraph here. They're getting their information from the wrestlers themselves, who announced their own departures on social media, especially Twitter, Instagram for some of them, maybe Facebook. Other reports come from Mike Johnson at PWI Insider or Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful.com, Fightful Select. So these are reputable reporters, and of course the talent themselves announcing this. Long list. We're not going to read it out. John, you've been able to read over this list. Who's the biggest name you're sorry to see go that's being cut from WWE? I'll give you mine. It's Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
He was briefly in the Bloodline angle for about a month. He was doing some work with Drew McIntyre pretty recently on Raw. He had some out of ring, off camera difficulties with travel recently, where he may have been either the perpetrator or the victim of some travel aggression against him, perhaps. I'm surprised. I thought Matt Riddle was a decent worker, and they looked like they had something for him to do. Who from this list stands out to you?
Matt Riddle's surprising because Matt Riddle is really good. I mean, I should say this. He's a solid hand in there. There are some other people that stick out. Top Dollar, one of my favorites. That's no surprise, although it seemed, he just didn't really Top Dollar just, unfortunately, hey, he got the opportunity to be in the WWE. I'm not going to trash him while he's, on his way out here. Dolph Ziggler, for sure, is the one that sticks out the most. I would say this as far as Dolph Ziggler is concerned. I'm not too, it stinks that he got cut, but I'm not too worried about him. He's been in the WWE for 20 years. His salary is probably around like $500,000 a year. So he should have at least thrown some of that away and tucked some of that away. He's been wrestling for 20 years. He had a good career, and he's been in the WWE for 20 years, so it comes to an end for some of these guys. It just has to.
Same thing with Shelton Benjamin. Do you think they can still go if they maybe wind up somewhere like AEW that seems to be having success with older wrestlers who've been jettisoned by WWE, but who have proven that they still have something left in the tank?
Ziggler would be good. I almost feel like it'd be cool to see him have a run in New Japan because he is a really good worker. Like
Okay.
he's he's the best worker on this list that got released, like
Right.
in ring, and they really care about the in ring stuff in Japan in particular. So it would be interesting to see what he could do there. I think he's made his money, and I think that at this point he can do whatever he wants, and maybe he want to go forward and just try to become a better wrestler. There's a guy, Matt Cardona, who's in, I think it's GCW, who's in the Indies now. He made a ton of money in the WWE. He was a bottom card guy, and now he just wrestles in the Indies. And he's working his art, right? Like he's better positioned in the Indies, and he's getting a little bit more clout, if you will, in the Indies. So maybe he could do
We
something.
talked about Matt Cardona in our review of AEW's All In and NWA 75 that happened the same weekend. So if you're watching us and you want to go back in our archives, look for that show where we reviewed AEW and TNA pay-per-views on the same show. We did mention Matt Cardona. For me, also of note, Emma and Riddick Moss, who are a couple, they may or may not be engaged. They are both on this list. Mustafa Ali, who was on the pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia against Gunther. He was a pretty good worker. And I only saw him a couple times. I enjoyed Rick Boogs.
Yes, Rick
Big,
Boogs,
muscular guy. Just a lot of fun.
goofball. Yeah, kind of a goofy character.
Yep.
Mustafa Ali, yeah, that sticks out, but it is weird. I would put it like this. I guess because it's the merger, that's why they're doing the layoffs. But it's weird that they didn't do it before the merger, because you'd think that they want to artificially inflate the value of their company, and one way to do that, unfortunately, is to cut salary. So it's surprising they didn't do it before, but this is the kind of stuff that happens during mergers. People just they just trim the fat everywhere they can. And of course, this is not just the workers. There's some people in the marketing department that got cut.
Sure.
There's
Corporate redundancies, I'm sure, from both sides.
Yes.
Speaking of which, more business news. SmackDown's deal with Fox apparently ends next year, 2024. And Fox is not renewing. SmackDown is heading to USA in a deal with NBC Universal. Surprised? Good news, bad news? What do you say here?
I was surprised because it felt like SmackDown. I mean, I don't know enough about what Fox's goals are or what their future is, but it felt like it was a good fit for them, especially on a Friday night when you don't get a lot of viewers. But feels like it is not a great sign for WWE. Like when you were on Fox, you were distributed to a much larger audience. Now it could be that the pivot to Universal is, hey, now they're the big fish in a small pond, right? When you're on USA, you're the top show. When they're on Fox, they're kind of, they have the NFL, which is massive. They have all these other shows on Fox, and ultimately,
You get bumped because of baseball playoffs.
Yeah, right. You get bumped to FS1 because of the baseball playoffs.
This starts in October 2024. Of course, WWE already has a huge deal with USA as part of NBC Universal, and with the rest of NBC. Their streaming library is available on Peacock, which is NBC. Their premium live events are no longer called pay-per-views, because if you have a premium subscription at Peacock, you get them without having to pay extra. So it's not a pay-per-view anymore.
Right.
It says here WWE will also produce 4 specials a year for NBC prime time. So perhaps not off of broadcast TV altogether. I heard and read some reports that Fox maybe, and you brought this up in your intro there, that perhaps Fox's goals and expectations were just out of whack with reality. I heard that Fox, when they signed this deal, were expecting this to bring in 5 million viewers on a Friday night. It has not come close to that. Even though it's usually number one in its time slot, it's doing about half that. So when is being number one still not good enough, when the company that paid for that thought they were getting twice as much number one as they're getting? So
And
this is maybe Fox doesn't want to up here. I don't know. I don't know how much to make of this. I mean, it's not like SmackDown doesn't have a home. I mean, this is more than a year in advance they've announced where they're going.
yeah. Well, ultimately, it sounds like, if Fox is going to drop the WWE, it's going to be one of these things where WWE would have to prefer to be on Fox because of the higher viewership that they would get on Fox. But, if you're not you're not providing what the customer is asking, like they're not getting the views that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were looking at Raw and they're like, oh man, so we get like 2 million viewers on Raw. Fox has a bigger, viewership potential. We could get to that 5 million because we get 2 million on Raw, and that's how they initially signed the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's looking like, not so hot.
Raw is apparently negotiated separately for TV rights. This does not directly affect Raw's status on USA nor NXT. We were talking about months and months ago that would NBC Universal just buy the WWE since they have such a relationship with them already. Looks like that relationship is getting stronger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they're a de facto on the side owner. Maybe they're kind of just they're really good friends.
No,
they're really good friends at this point.
They've worked
Thinking
together.
of other things that happens when you get mergers, and you get Vince McMahon trying to rally the troops by giving them a reverse pep talk, saying that the WWE had stagnated during an employee-only meeting. And this comes to us from WrestleZone. Any opportunity we have to show a picture of Vince McMahon with a hairstyle and mustache looking like a comic book villain, I will take it.
Yes. That is the cheap heat we're looking for.
That's the cheap heat we're looking for. This is kind of weird though, because for months and months, all we've heard is WWE, like SmackDown hit its highest viewership ratings in 3 years within the last month or two. They keep setting record after record with pay-per-views and premium live events, as they're now called. Merchandise, sales for these fan experiences at these big events. It doesn't sound like the WWE is stagnating from a business standpoint. It doesn't sound like they're stagnating from a creative standpoint. And I'm going to give a shout out here to Colin Kessier. If I'm mispronouncing his name, I apologize. But at the end of this report, he says, contrary to McMahon's claim, WWE had publicly announced record-breaking success with many premium live events in the months ahead of the Endeavor deal becoming official. And so now I want to say, did this backfire with Vince saying this, that business has stagnated? Because as I look at the chart here for TKO, look at what happens on September 20th, going into September 21st.
Wow.
Hey, that's a loss of a lot of market cap there for the TKO ticker symbol.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a kind of deceiving viewpoint because it's right at the top of the chart there, but it is a significant drop. You go from like 110 to 83. So significantly down in the last couple weeks or last week or so.
Down 20% in 2 days.
20. He tanked. Is he trying to buy it? What's he doing? Is he tanking it
Is
to
he
buy
trying to
it?
sell the company again?
Yeah,
Is
right.
he trying to buy it for himself? Like he's trying to buy low again. But this was September 12th. The stock starts trading. Dips below 100, comes back up. The new deal for SmackDown is announced. Vince says business is stagnating. And did investors take the bait? Did they think it was a shoot, not a work?
They thought it was a shoot. Exactly. That's the best way to put it.
That's all I got for you, John.
I think
It's cheap. It's heat. It's cheap heat.
I think more so than there's two huge factors, right? I mean, you talk about Vince saying the company's stagnant. Um, More so the fact that they're not going to be on Fox anymore really jumped out to me. Just Fox is such a big player in it legitimized the WWE so much to be on Fox, to be on national TV. I know TV's kind of going away and everything's headed towards streaming, but still, Fox is a way bigger name than USA. Like USA, I
So
don't
is
even
this
know.
a case of the market overreacting? Like, yeah, you're saying you're right. TV's going away. It's not going to matter after a while whether you're on USA or you're on Fox. Is the market overreacting because they still have, because Fox as a major network, a major over-the-air broadcaster, still carries more gravitas
Gravitas, baby.
than a measly cable channel,
Yes.
even though in reality there's no difference.
So I totally think that yes, the market stock market has a tendency, or people have to. There's a tendency to overreact in the stock market. So they
They
see one
call it
little
an
bad news.
overcorrection
Yeah,
in stock market wonky vocabulary.
and also September and October stocks have a tendency to slump. So it's September, October-ish. That kind of makes sense with that trend. They overreact to one little thing. It's all amazing. It's all roses a month ago when you got Dana White and you got Vince McMahon ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. And then a month later, it's the world's on fire.
They're waiting for a trigger, and this was the trigger. And it's like, okay, coming into the fourth quarter, this is what happens.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure the stock will grow back up. But yeah, it is actually kind of a concern, I have to say, for WWE that they're getting bumped from Fox.
business can be a fickle business.
All right. On that
Decipher
note,
that one in the comments if you can.
on that note, that's cheap heat. So you know what that means. We're coming toward the end of the show here. Cheap heat is over. We're going to do the Italian goodbye. Dom, I appreciate you jumping on here. We're going to have some more short videos, certainly about the WWE topic, as far as where they stand with their stock price. Kind of interesting stuff here, but SmackDown keeps rolling. We keep getting a thumbs up. I wonder if we're going to get a thumbs down soon, because we've been giving a lot of thumbs up to SmackDown.
We've given thumbs down before. I gave a thumbs down to the second biggest premium live event of the year, SummerSlam. So it has happened. We're not homers here. We try to provide some pretty good analysis here and give you our honest takes of things. And hey, if you're watching, subscribe and leave us your honest take in the comments.
Yeah.
Don't let us be the only ones having all the fun here.
Well, Dom, it's Sunday, and it's rainy here in the Philadelphia area. So I'm winding down. I'm starting to get a little sleepy. So as the energy level comes down, I think it's time to sign off. Dom, thanks so much for joining. Everyone out there, thank you for joining. We're up to 270 subscribers on YouTube. And as Dom mentioned, over 100,000 views. The videos are taking off. Much bigger than I really ever thought. We had 7 views when we first started the channel, 6 views, and it was me and Dom looking at the videos. And now we have like back to back
Yes.
over 1,000 views. So we're starting to build some momentum here. And yeah, appreciate you
Should we
guys.
do a little teaser for next week?
Sure.
The final Friday of September. That's kind of our benchmark for our new season of Don't Bury the Lead.
Yes.
Our first Don't Bury the Lead recap was September 30th of 2022 when we reviewed the SmackDown from that night. Go back into our archives and take a look at that. It was an historic SmackDown as we wound up learning as the months went on. It was the debut of L.A. Knight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
was him dumping the Max Dupree gimmick and saying he was coming back to be LA Knight.
Yeah, we stepped into a good one.
We stepped in it. Oh, we stepped in it.
Yeah.
We stepped in it, and we still haven't been able to get it out of the shoe completely.
All right, we're winding down here. So thanks so much. We're going to continue to pump out the YouTube clips. I guess it is our 1-year birthday next week, and we will be celebrating appropriately.
Season 2 of Don't Bury the Lead is on its way.
Season 2, baby. Don't bury the lead. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your evening.